So in our previous session, we have already gone through some of the, we have gone through these laws. We have gone through these laws, that is laws of chemical combination. You can see here law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. We have already finished with these two laws, right? Now there is one thing which you have to note down, that is that both the laws were based on experiments. Okay, you can say that these are the experimental laws. These were the experimental laws, and uh, there were only logical explanations. There were only logical explanations provided by the scientists at that time. Okay, so logical, and according to the logical explanation, it was assumed that all matter around us was it consisted of it consisted of a tiniest particle, you can say, and that tiniest particle was indivisible. Okay, so it was considered, you can say that matter consists of matter was considered to be considered to consist of small indivisible particles. Okay, and those particles were assumed to be what? Indivisible particles, and those particles were known as atoms. Okay, called atoms. Okay, now on the basis of on the basis of this assumption that matter around us consists of indivisible particles called atoms, another scientist, Dalton, came up with atomic theory of matter. Dalton was another scientist who found that only the experimental laws, only on the basis of experimental laws, we cannot we cannot explain all the laws. So what he has done, he came up with a theory, and that theory was known as Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, he came up with another theory which was known as Dalton's atomic theory of matter. Now, according to his theory, he has some of the points which has explained these two laws. Okay, he had given some postulates on the basis of his theory. He had given some postulates, and those postulates have described these two laws, you can say, more clearly. Okay, so we are going to discuss today, in today's session, we are going to discuss about this Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, so hello and welcome everyone. You are watching Learn PCM, and we are going through a series of sessions for the chapter Atoms and Molecules, and this is session number fourth one. Okay, and the series is third. It is third series for chemistry, and I hope students are understanding the series, and they have also watched the previous series of this chemistry. Okay, is matter around us pure and matter? These two are the series which we have already finished, and today we are going through the fourth session of atoms and molecules, that is the series number 3. Okay, so keep on watching the videos to have clear concepts of these chapters, or you can say that these topics. Okay, so let us start with Dalton's atomic theory of matter. He has assumed that, according to Dalton, okay, he has assumed that matter consists of small indivisible particles, and on the basis of this, he has given his theory. Okay, so let us start with his first statement, first theory, first point, that matter consists of small indivisible particles. What was his first theory? Because it was the basic of the theory, so you are going to write this as first point. Okay, so what he has given, that matter consists of, okay, consists of small indivisible particles. Okay, small indivisible particles, right? Then the second thing, and yes, these particles are known as what? Called atoms. These particles were known as atoms. Okay, already we have discussed about it. Then the second point which he has given was about the atoms only, that atoms of an element. Okay, what he has given, that atoms of an element. Okay, atoms of an element are identical. Okay, identical in mass and chemical properties. ठीक है, and chemical properties. When we are talking about they are identical in mass and chemical properties, what does it mean? That atoms of an element, when we consider one element, say if we are considering, suppose this is an element of say we have taken a sheet of, or simply a piece of, say, iron or a copper. Okay, let us take copper. Okay, suppose this is a piece of copper. Now, if you are going to break copper from any of the piece, I mean from anywhere in this piece, you are going to get copper only. The particles which are consisting of this piece of copper, which is which you can see here, it consists of atoms. Okay, and each atom is identical. It means if this is copper atom, then this is also copper atom. This also is the atom of copper, and all the masses in each case, each of these atoms are going to have the same mass as well as the same chemical properties. They are not having any different property. Every particle in this copper piece, the piece of this copper, every particle consists of atom, and every particle is atom, and that atom is single only. It is identical, they are similar, each atom is similar to one another. Okay, they are identical in mass as well as in chemical properties. Okay, so next one is what? The third one is that atoms of different elements. Now, if you consider atoms of different elements, let us write first atoms of different elements are different in all respects. In all respects. Now, when I'm talking about that atoms of different elements, now here we have considered copper, piece of copper. Now let's take piece of aluminium. Okay, I'm suppose going to take a piece of aluminium now. Okay, so this is your aluminium. Okay, aluminium. Okay, say another piece of iron is there with you. Say iron. Okay, now the atoms in this case, say this consists of, since it is aluminium, piece of aluminium, so each atom in this case consists of the atoms of aluminium. Each atom in this case, say this atom is aluminium, this atom is again aluminium, this is also aluminium. Okay, so each atom is identical in this piece, but this atom is different from this atom. This atom is different from this atom. Copper atom, atom of copper is different from atom of aluminium, because this element is different and this element is different, so the atoms are also going to be different. Here also, if this is iron, so if in iron the particles again they are different. They are different from these particles of copper, aluminium. So these are different. Their characteristics are different. Their chemical properties are different. Okay, these two are same. These two are same. These all are same in with each other. Okay, whatever is here, whatever atoms are present here, it is same. These are identical in mass as well as chemical properties. But when once we are comparing aluminium with iron, then definitely the atom of aluminium is different from the atom of iron. The atom of copper is different from atom of aluminium. The atom of copper is different from atom of iron. So this is why we say that atoms of different elements, here these are the different elements, copper, aluminium, iron, all are different elements. So atoms of different elements are different in all respects. Okay, whatever is the property of this atom, this copper atom, it is not going to be same as the properties of these aluminium atoms. Again, this is not going to be same as iron. Again, iron is not going to be same as other, okay, either these two or any other element. Okay, so they are having different, they are different in all respect. Okay, next one is the fourth one, is that atoms of different elements, see, atoms of different elements combine in small whole numbers, okay, to form compounds. Now, when we are talking about they are combining in small whole numbers, what does it mean? That atoms of different elements. Suppose one atom, say you are taking atom of hydrogen, okay? Say you have taken two atoms of hydrogen. This is first atom, this is second atom. And if both are combining with one atom of oxygen, one atom of oxygen, do you think it is going to give you something? Yes, definitely it is giving you the chemical combination. With the help of this laws of chemical combination, you will get what? You are going to get over here a compound, and that is H2O. What is it? H2O. We call it water. This is the chemical composition of water. Okay, so atoms of different elements. You can see here H is different, that is hydrogen is different element, oxygen is different element, and they are combining together. These two atoms of hydrogen are combining together with one atom of oxygen to give H2O, and they are combining in small whole numbers. They are combining in small whole numbers. That means two or three or four, only these type of numbers are included for the combinations. Okay, they are combining in very less amount. You can see they are combining in small whole numbers. Okay, 11, 12, 24. So there are bigger also, but not that much big. Okay, so they are combining together in small whole numbers to form compounds. Okay, next is, let me write the fifth one. Yeah, so fifth one, the fifth postulate of Dalton's atomic theory. It says that atom is the smallest unit of matter. What it says, that atom is the smallest unit of matter. Who has said this? Dalton. These are the postulates of Dalton. Dalton has given some of the postulates for his theory of matter, on his theory of matter, in which this is the fifth point which he has given to us. What he has said, that atom is the smallest unit of matter that take part in chemical reaction. Okay, so he has also given that this atom, it takes part, in chemical reactions. Okay, so this is about fifth point. Now let us try to write or understand sixth point. What is the meaning of this? Atom is the smallest unit of matter that takes part in chemical reaction. Atom is the smallest. When he is saying smallest unit of matter, it means what? You know that when we make a house, okay, house is built by which unit? Which is the smallest unit which is used in the house? It is the brick, isn't it? We say that bricks are used, or bricks are the smallest unit to build a house. Similarly, to build a matter, according to Dalton, to build any matter, whatever matter is there around us, to build any of the object, the smallest unit of building that object is known as atom. So you can say that the atoms are the building blocks of matter. Okay, so this was given by Dalton, right? Now, sixth point which he has given was atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. What he said, that atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. ठीक है? In a chemical reaction, nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. ठीक है? Then seventh one is what he has given, that the seventh point which he has given is that the number and the kind of atoms that the number and the kind of atoms in the molecule of a given compound are fixed. Okay, what he has said, that the number and the kind of atoms. Okay, say if you are taking CO2. Now this is the chemical composition of carbon dioxide. What is it? Carbon dioxide. This is carbon dioxide. When you are taking carbon dioxide, you can see that there are again two of the elements. You can find here two elements. One is carbon and the other one is oxygen. Now you can see that carbon, when you are taking carbon here, it is only single, one atom of carbon, and then when you are taking oxygen, there are two atoms of oxygen, right? So you can see that from anywhere in the universe, if you're going to consider carbon dioxide, definitely you will get carbon dioxide in this form only, where two of the elements are used, that is carbon and oxygen, right? And that also in fixed, they are not only they are used, the same are used, also they are used in the same quantity. For example, here two of the elements are used, that is carbon and oxygen. Okay, so they are always carbon and oxygen to form carbon dioxide. No other element is going to involve in it. Okay, carbon and oxygen only are going to be used for making carbon dioxide. Further also, you have to keep this in your mind, that number of carbon atom or number of oxygen atom is also fixed. That means if carbon here is 1, if the atom of carbon is 1 and atom of oxygen is 2, then always it is going to combine the same ratio. Always it is going to combine the same ratio. That is, these number of atoms are fixed in any chemical compound. Okay, in a given compound. Okay, so let us go for the next point, that is eighth one, that atoms of some elements can combine in more than one ratio, and it is for in more than one ratio to form what? To form you can say two or more compounds. Okay, now what it is saying, that atoms of some elements can combine in more than one ratio. Say here CO2, you can see here that CO2 is is the combination for to give carbon dioxide, isn't it? Only one atom of carbon is utilized, and two atoms of oxygen are utilized. But when we are taking one atom of oxygen, let me make it up. Hmm. So when we are taking, say, CO2, we have taken CO2, where we have taken what? Here you can see that one atom of oxygen, sorry, one atom of carbon, and there are two atoms of oxygen. Okay, but if you are taking H2O, now here the ratio is different. You can see here that two atoms of hydrogen are used. Okay, two atoms of hydrogen and only one atom of oxygen is used. Okay, similarly we can use CO. You can see here that it is carbon monoxide. This is what? This is carbon monoxide. This is carbon monoxide, sorry, where only one atom of carbon is used and one atom of oxygen is used. Okay, one atom of carbon and one atom of oxygen. It means the ratio is different here. Here the ratio is different, isn't it? You can see one atom of carbon but two atoms of oxygen. Here one atom of carbon, one atom of oxygen. So it why is it done? It is done to give more and more compounds or different compounds. Okay, this is why, that is why we are getting many different types of. Okay. So these were the postulates which were given by Dalton. What he has given from the very first one, we are going to have a relook. That matter consists of small indivisible particles. According to him, the matter is consisting of small indivisible particles, and these indivisible particles are known as atoms. Okay. Then second point which he has given was that atoms of an element are identical in mass and chemical properties, whereas atoms of different elements are different in all respects. Okay. Then the fourth point which he has given was that atoms of different elements combine in small whole numbers to form different compounds. Okay. They combine in different whole numbers. They combine in small whole numbers, and they are different elements. Okay. Then then fifth point is that atom is the smallest unit of matter that takes part in chemical reaction. Okay. And the next point which he has given was that atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Okay. And then seventh point is that the number and the kind of atoms in the molecule in the molecule of a given compound are always fixed. Okay. And the eighth one is that atoms of some elements can combine in more than one ratio to form two or more compounds. Okay. So these were the points, or you can say that this was the atomic theory of matter, which was proposed by Dalton, which was given by Dalton, and this theory was published in it was published in uh, I don't know why isn't it working. What's the problem with this? Okay, fine, it is working now. So this theory was given in 1808. He has given this theory. God, what's the problem with this? Okay, so it was given in 1808. This theory was provided in 1808. It came into existence in 1808. Now, with the help of these theory, these points, Dalton has explained about one page. I have just left out like that only. Let me move. Some problem is coming in out here. So okay, let me explain now why these theories were given by Dalton. He has come up with a theory, the theory of atomic theory of matter, all to explain the chemical laws of chemical combination. Okay, he has applied this theory to explain the law of chemical combination. Now, first law of chemical combination, that law of conservation of mass. How he has explained this law of conservation of mass? Which of his points, which of his points has explained this theory, this law? So explanation which he has given, which the point which has explained about this theory was that he has given that atoms are indivisible particles which can neither be created nor destroyed. According to his one of the points, that atoms are indivisible particles. Okay, atoms are indivisible particles that can neither be created nor be destroyed. So this point of his theory has explained the law of conservation of mass. Okay, this has explained the law of conservation of mass. Why so? Because atoms cannot be created nor be destroyed. It means that, and also in chemical reaction, it means that in chemical reaction, the number of various types of atoms in products are going to be same as that of the reactants. Okay, and in such a case, if suppose if we are saying that number of atoms in reactants, okay, in reactants side, okay, number of atoms in reactants if is going to be equal to the number of atoms in product. Okay, I'm talking about chemical reaction. Here we are talking about a chemical reaction, in a chemical reaction. Okay, in a chemical reaction. So if in a chemical reaction number of atoms in reactant side is equal to number of atoms in product, it means what? That mass in reactant side, mass in reactant, or you can say the mass of reactants will be then equal to mass of, it will be equal to mass of product. And if it is really correct, then in that case what will happen, that there is no loss of mass in either of the side, and that is why we can say that that mass is conserved during a reaction. As a result, the mass of the product since remains the same as as the reactant, so we can say as a result that that the mass is conserved during a chemical reaction, and that is why the point that atoms are indivisible particles that can neither be created nor be destroyed. This point of Dalton's atomic theory explains the law of conservation of mass. ओके, इसमें हमने क्या देखा कि जो जो एटम है उनके डाल्टन के जो पॉइंट्स थे, उस पॉइंट में इस पॉइंट से जिसमें ये दिया हुआ है कि एटम इज इनडिविजिबल, एटम जो होता है वो इनडिविजिबल पार्टिकल है और वो न तो बनाया जा सकता है न ही उसे नष्ट किया जा सकता है। तो इस पॉइंट से हमें क्या समझ में आता है कि जितने भी नंबर ऑफ एटम्स हम एक केमिकल रिएक्शन में जो हिस्सा ले रहे हैं, जो रिएक्टेंट्स हैं, जो केमिकल रिएक्शन के समय में जो जो रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं, जब वो रिएक्ट करते हैं तो उसके बाद जो प्रोडक्ट फॉर्म होता है उस प्रोडक्ट में भी उतने ही नंबर ऑफ एटम्स प्रेजेंट रहेंगे जितने के रिएक्टेंट्स में प्रेजेंट थे। इन दैट केस, इन दैट सिचुएशन क्या होगा कि जितना भी मास होगा रिएक्टेंट्स की तरफ में, मास ऑफ रिएक्टेंट्स जो होगा वो सेम हो जाएगा, इक्वल हो जाएगा मास ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स की। Okay, and in such a situation we can say that it satisfies the law of conservation of mass, क्योंकि मास जो है हमारा कहीं भी डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं हो पा रहा है और कहीं भी हम उसे क्रिएट भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, all because कि the mass remains the same in both the sides. That is why we can clearly explain the law of conservation of mass with the help of this very point which is given by Dalton. Okay. Now let us move to explain the law of constant proportion. ठीक है, अब हम constant proportion, law of constant proportion को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. How we are going to understand this? Let us try to understand. Okay. So the second law was law of constant proportion. So how he has explained this law? Let us try to understand. See, the postulate of Dalton's atomic theory says that the relative number and the kind of atoms in a given compound remains same. What he has given in the seventh point, you can see in the seventh point that the number and the kind of atoms in a molecule of a given compound is fixed or are fixed. ठीक है, the number and the kind of atoms in a molecule of a given compound are fixed. As I have explained you that if you are going to consider H2O, then the number of atoms will be always fixed. It is going to be fixed. You from anywhere you are going to take the water, the chemical composition will be same as this only. 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen is applied in is the combination which is going to provide you water, and this is everywhere. That is why we can say that the number and the kind of atoms in a molecule of a given compound are fixed, and this explains the law of constant proportion. It remains constant actually. Okay, and that is why it explains the law of constant proportion. Even you have seen the I am going to give you this fourth point also explains the same law, that atoms of different elements combine in small whole numbers to form compounds. Okay, but that is not giving you that they are fixed also. Here in this point, in the seventh point of Dalton's atomic theory, you will come to know that the number and the kind of atoms in a molecule of a given compound are fixed, and that is why we say when it is written as fixed, it means that it is satisfying this law of constant proportion. Okay, so these are the explanations which were given for the law of conservation of mass and the law of constant proportions. And then in our coming video, we will be coming up with our drawbacks of Dalton's atomic theory, and further we'll proceed with atom and rest of the topics. So till then, keep on watching and do subscribe the channel if you are new to the channel, and take care. Bye bye.